Yeah, we have a quorum. We'll call the meeting to order. Seated tonight is myself, David Rathman, Ben Philbrook, Fred Dykeman, and Ryan Deasy. First, we'll have the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, item D, Keith?
Here we go. Item 4D, the administrative review items. 4D1 is request a 90-day extension of filing the final plans for the previously approved subdivision application PZ 2002 SD and Cam, Michael Norcia Jr., Greg Fettis. This was a subdivision, a 3-lot subdivision approved back in May. State statutes give up to 2 90-day extensions that can be granted for them to file the final plans and the land records. They just still have to do some of the legal requirements, the fee in lieu of open space and, the lawyer's documents that have to be done before the final plans are filed. And these extensions are routinely given. The statutes don't really give a reason to say no.
Do I hear a motion on this extension?
Motion to approve the extension.
Do I hear a
Second
second?
motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And for old business, item 6A is PZ 2020 SPA and CAM, Latimer Point Condominium Association, site plan and coastal area management review applications for first and second floor additions, deck additions, demo and replacement of single-family residence, and installation of 2 new septic systems. Property located at 10 Center Drive, 8 North Shore Way, 111 Latimer Point Road, Stonington, Connecticut. Assessor's maps block and lots 154, 432, 154, 213, 154, 43, zone RM20. And the applicant, Mr. Lally's here to present this to the commission.
I think Mr. Lowley's on mute.
Can't hear him.
Can't hear you.
Let's see.
Might be on his laptop. Oh, now it's
He seems to be muted.
yeah.
Ed, can you try now? No. Huh.
We saw him before.
Right. No, he's there. Whenever I try to unmute him, nothing happens.
It doesn't look like his microphone is connected, Keith.
Okay. This mic may not be connected. Well,
That's me.
I guess I'll go through the basics here. Basically, the Latimer Point Condo Association, it's recognized by one lot by the town, even though if you go there, it looks like a bunch of single-family houses. But it is a condo association. So all the town zoning requirements like setbacks, floor area, other bulk requirements apply to the entire property, not the individual lots. Even though if you look at the assessor's map, there are a bunch of individual lots there. In the 90s, basically the condo association and the Planning and Zoning Commission essentially established this process where instead of them applying for variances for every little thing, they'd come before the commission roughly every year or so to kind of bundle all these smaller requests to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Most of the properties in the RM20 zone, there's a strip of RC120 along the south and west coasts here. As far as what they're looking to do, there's 3 properties involved. 10 Center Drive is looking just for a 258 addition to the second floor. 111 Latimer Point Road is looking for a total of 561 square foot additions, the first and second floor, and decks on the first and second floor in a new septic system. 8 North Shore Way is looking to demolish the existing house and construct a new 2,400 roughly square foot dwelling unit. There are really no zoning issues with this application. The house on 8 North Shore Way is located in the FEMA coastal AE zone, in which the V zone standards have to be met there. The town requires that new construction, substantial improvement in these areas have to be more than 100 feet from mean high water. The existing house will reduce that nonconformity by being located farther away from the coast. And the house is designed to meet the coastal AE standard. We did get some comments from the town engineer on 8 North Shore Way. He had a few basically clarifying comments that could easily be met with a stipulation for his final review. It was reviewed by the town's floodplain management consultant. So we have a few recommendations here. One, that the final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Number 2, that individual zoning permits for site development plans shall be submitted for properties that propose new construction and or substantial improvement to ensure compliance with the flood hazard regulations on an individual lot development basis. Number 3, improvements shall conform to the public health code requirements as determined by DEP. And the decisions would be a decision on the CAM itself and a decision on the site plan application.
Hey Keith, I don't know if you saw, it looks like Ed was able to put something in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Lally says when he tags on mute, it doesn't impact his ability to communicate. He apologizes for this. Would be pleased to accept all recommended stipulations, however, suggest adding requirement for individual site plans to stipulation number 2. Which, as I read it, does say individual zoning permits for site development plans. So if I'm understanding it right, it would require individual site development plans.
All the other ones seem all right, Keith.
Yes.
Any questions? Any further questions on this? I see that Gardner Young has now joined us. Is Lynn here?
Lynn is also here.
Okay, and Lynn.
I had trouble getting on with Keith's link. I went to Gail's link and was able to log on.
Keith, this is Lynn. About Latimer Point, does the association have any view restrictive limitations for additions or whatever buildings?
They do. The Latimer Point Condo Association has their own private regulations, and view restrictions are part of it. So anyone who's proposing something like this, like a new house, has to go before their board and get approval from their regulations, and they have an architect who analyzes the view sheds and other properties. So before they come to this board, they have to go through the Latimer Point Condo Association and get that approval.
Thanks, Keith. I don't have any other questions.
Does anyone have any further questions at this time?
No. No.
Do I hear a motion on this application?
Make a motion to approve the applications with the stipulations as Keith listed them.
Do I hear a second?
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Now, do we need to
Thank you.
vote on the CAM separately, Keith, or does?
Well, we might as well for formality's sake.
Sure. Do I hear a motion on the CAM?
Motion to approve the CAM.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, so if we can just clarify that the 5 regular members are seated at this point.
Your 5 regular members are here.
Okay, so I'm part of the program now.
Yep.
Okay.
And item 6B is PZ 2022BR, Mystic Health Center LLC, David Lazzari, bond reduction release application for work performed under PZ 1833, ZC and SPA, Lazzari Development, zone change and site plan applications for construction of a 47,625 square foot medical office building for Hartford Healthcare. 100 Perkins Farm Drive, Assessors Map 50, Block 2, Lot 5, Zone GDD. This application is for the release of the erosion and sedimentation control bond that was paid for the construction of the Hartford Healthcare site. It's just for Hartford Healthcare. It's not for the apartments or the other areas there. And this was $25,000. The town engineer's original comments noted that the stormwater basin outlet did not have a proper steel plate on it that was needed. So the applicants quickly remedied that, and the town engineer's latest comments say that the applicant's installation of the steel plate at the outlet structure now satisfies my comments with regard to my November 3rd memo. Therefore, I recommend full release of the bond. One minor issue is just that when we have these erosion sedimentation control bonds, we have a requirement that they remain in place for 1 year after it's completed. Technically, a year won't be up until December 23rd, 2020. So we recommend full release of the bond, but with one stipulation of approval that funds shall not be released until December 23rd, 2020, which is 1 year from certificate of compliance.
Do I hear a motion on this application?
Motion to approve.
With the 1 year,
Do I-
yep. with the
Second?
December
Extension,
With
23rd.
stipulation? Fred?
with the extension to the December 23rd.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And old business item 6C, I recommend tabling pending ADRB review. So that won't be until the second meeting in December that the commission can take this up. This is for Fair Acres Park on Whitehall. And with that, it concludes old business.
At this time, we'll go to the continuation of the public hearing. Do we need to read this in the minutes, the whole thing, Keith? Does Ben have to work on this?
We have,
They can handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we usually do that.
we
Go
have not.
ahead, Ben.
You're making me pull out my phone. Hang on, please, people.
Oh,
I usually print out all statutes of the state of Connecticut, revision of 1958, and all amendments thereto, and pursuant to the zoning regulations for the town of Stonington, Connecticut, the Planning and Zoning Commission hereby gives notice that it will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 17th, 2020 at 7 p.m. by virtual meeting on the following applications. PZ 2018 SUP and CAM. G Development LLC S. Shrenzia. Special use permit and coastal area management review applications for the redevelopment, change of use from automotive service gas station to small hotel, previously to restaurant. Existing structure, parking, stormwater management, utilities, and associated landscaping. Property located at 32 Broadway Ave, Mystic, Assessors Map 174, Block 19, Lot 1, Zone LS-5, continued from 11/4/20.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome, sir.
First, we'll hear from the applicant and all the additions and changes we've had since the last meeting. Then we'll hear from anyone in favor of it, and then we'll hear from anyone in opposition to it, and then we'll hear any general comments on this application. So, and then we'll hear from the staff. At this time, Sergio, you're on.
Sergio.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. And also want to just thank you for entertaining this at this meeting. We met, as you recall, last about 2 weeks ago. November 4th is the last meeting where we made presentation at the time which the commission requested that we submit revised plans. So which is what we have done in the interim, and we believe that we have addressed all of the concerns that were brought up at the previous meeting. If I may, I'm just going to go highlight some of the things on the site plan that have changed and to address some of the comments. With me this evening is Elena Pascarella, the landscape architect, and Mark Comeau, the project architect. I'll defer to them on their the changes that they addressed on their ends to make sure that we could meet all the regulatory requirements and hopefully address everything that was of concern of this commission. So what I'm going to do is I will share my screen to get right into. If it'll come up here, yeah. Might take just a minute here. Hopefully it comes up.
Yeah.
So if, what should be in front of your screens right now is the proposed site plan. One of the items that was commented on by the planning staff, and I believe we addressed during the meeting, were the 2 parking spaces off of closest to Washington Street, as well as the introduction of a sidewalk along Washington Street. As you can see from the proposed revised site plan, we have accommodated the sidewalk with ADA ramps and detection areas on those ramps. A small area for landscaping. It's just a snow shelf, grass snow shelf, and curbing along Washington Street. We did not change the location of the building, nor the landscaped area and bioretention area on the corner of Washington Street and Broadway Avenue. However, the two spaces that were designated as parking spaces, given COVID and the need for a little bit more outside space, what we did was convert those parking spaces into more passive recreational type space where we can put planter boxes so we can have some landscaping and to create a border around these areas to delineate them from the rest of the building and the driveway area, as well as some seating for these spaces, tables and chairs, so that people have an area to sit at the ground level. The other that we can still accommodate, I will note, we can still accommodate all the parking required for the use with the balance of the parking left in the on the property. In addition to the additional spaces and the sidewalk along Washington Street, there was a question to include the size of trees at maturity. Elena, would you mind commenting? I think I have your landscape plans, if I'll bring them up. And if you don't mind just addressing the tree heights.
Sure. Well, those are elevations, and they probably are better illustrative of what's happening with the landscaping than the actual plan view. So this is the view. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is the view looking along Broadway towards the east side of the building. You can see the green screen in the background. To the right, or the left side of that drawing, you'll see a large tree and a small planting area, and then you see that that dark columnar evergreen. That's going to be an evergreen border along the south parking lot side that'll define the property from the fire station. And then to the right side of that elevation, you're seeing some plantings. You're seeing a smaller tree. It's just to provide shade within that area. And you have a variety of shrubs that will be going around the perimeter, the outside of the upper perimeter of that bioretention area, infiltration area, and a row of evergreens along that blank wall at the lowest level of the hotel. We've reviewed the landscaping with the ADRB, so this meets their suggestions, notably the landscape architect on that committee, Christopher Thorpe. And then we also adjusted the plan to meet the comments of the town engineer. We did move the trees further away from the sidewalk, and we're going to be putting root barrier around the trees to ensure that they don't encroach in, roots don't grow into the sidewalk.
I have a couple of questions, Elena, if I may.
Sure.
Does the green wall end earlier than it did before? Meaning it looks like it terminates at the corner of the building rather than going to the sidewalk?
It does, and it always did. I think the earlier, how shall I put it? The earlier elevations didn't reveal that very clearly.
Okay, and were you going to? I thought you were not going to plant around the windows.
The hotel?
Neighbor next door. No, the neighbor next door on the green wall. We had talked. I thought the last thing we'd mentioned, you were saying the grid would be there for the green wall, but you were going to skip planting on the windows for the Mystic, what I call the Mystic Lumber, the Mystic Junction building?
We reviewed that, and it was felt that having a green wall, as a solid green wall, would be the most aesthetically pleasing approach to that.
So
Elena, I'm gonna jump in. Ben, was that your question? I'm sorry.
yes.
Yes. So after discussing with my client, he is very concerned of what could happen on that building. He's spoken to the owner of that building, and they've mentioned that I think I said it at the last meeting, that they're going to have the hygienic art cooperative or whatever it is over there. They may paint a mural on the side of that building. So it is conditioned in your approval this evening to raise that green wall, to lower the green wall below the windows. However, my client feels that he's within his rights and wants to protect his property from what potentially could be painted on that wall by bringing the green screen to the entirety to the top of that building.
All right. Well, my understanding, I thought Elena has suggested that perhaps you put the grid up for the planting, but you just don't plant in front of the windows. And I don't think a mural is going to be put on those two windows.
That we could review that with the client and again see what his thoughts are on that.
To my mind, it would make up the wall effect a little bit. It would give it a little depth.
Well, you basically would just be seeing a framework.
Right. And I'm not sure who this question is to, but is there a bike rack involved? I don't see it on any drawings.
We did not place a bike rack, but you could certainly, there are a number of locations where it could be placed.
Hold on, Elena, there is a bike rack. I'm sorry. If you look just between the elevator and the stairs,
oh, right.
I have it up on the plan. You
That's
can
right.
see there's a couple bike. We actually placed one underneath the building undercover.
That's right. I see them now. Yeah.
The little white, okay.
Little white things.
Thank you very much. That's it for me.
I have one question. What about snow removal?
Yes, I can address that. So if snow would typically be piled on site, if it's not a lot of snow, it would have to be allowed to melt just as the same as any stormwater runoff would into the infiltration basins, and then be handled like typically any other stormwater. Should the snow become an issue, it will have to be loaded and moved off site because it would impede parking. There just really is no place to stockpile snow, and it's typically not allowed to be stockpiled in infiltration areas. So to the extent where we could pile it on site and say, some of the over the additional parking spaces that are available, we would try to do that on smaller storm events. But if there's a significant storm event, it would have to be taken off site.
Okay.
So what would be significant? 6 inches? I mean,
It all depends on how much snow you get and how warm the next day is going to be, if it's going to melt away. But basically, I mean, if we can't accommodate our parking and there's going to be a pile of snow there, it's going to have to be removed.
Are there any other changes?
Yes, at this time, I think I'll put it to Mark Camo because he's going to go over some of the building changes that took place in order to identify that we don't have any enclosed or floor area on the third story. He also has some additional renderings. I think the commission requested that he can present.
Sergio, this is Lynn Conway. Before you do that, can I ask a question about the outdoor seating, I think it falls under the landscape. So
Certainly.
what I heard you describe was that you're going to have planters kind of around that corner and to allow for people to sit outside or whatever. Is that correct?
Correct. Any landscaping will be done in planter boxes, and then the seats would be, you know, able to be moved in and out. It'll be kind of a flexible space for outside seating.
So what are you thinking for outside seating? What are you thinking for numbers? What's that total area?
I'm not sure exactly. We're showing 4 seats in each space. It's just enough for a table and chairs.
So just one table with 4 seats?
Yeah, approximately so. Yep.
Okay. And then is there a reason, Sergio and Alina, that you would not plant shrub versus having planters? So it's a more permanent space rather than planters that are knocked around, and et cetera?
The purpose of the planters is just to make it a more flexible space, so that it's more transient. It can be pulled in during the winter time, and can be the planter boxes can go out during the better weather when they can be planted with nice perennials or something like that.
So would you be opposed for making that a shrub? A hedge?
I don't find that shrub plantings or hedge plantings between 2 paved areas survive very well. There's a lot of stress put on plantings in a situation like that. And I think that was another reason for suggesting raised planters. You know, there's more flexibility. Again, as Sergio indicated, there's more flexibility with them in terms of how you can configure them. And I just, as a landscape architect, a narrow planting bed with a hedge just between one pavement area and another pavement area there's a lot of stress put on the plants for survivability, I think.
Okay, thank you, Alina.
Okay, I'll jump in. Can you guys hear me? Mark them up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, Lynn, just to back up what Elena said, both at the Charter Oak, which used to be a Starbucks, there was in-ground plantings that had more than a 50% fatality on the plants. The Oddfellows building had the same thing. And the planter boxes at Bravo have the boxwood within the planters, and they're very robust, and they're able to because they're not getting the salt from the from the street and from the plows and all that. So there's actually more of a survival rate in the landscape to that end. I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I agree with you. I hadn't thought of it that way, so totally agree.
Okay. So I think it was Lynn. I think it was you that asked about evening projected views, and you know, you got to remember that this is hard to do. So we plan on putting these very low level LED lights on the pilasters. We think there's going to be enough glow from the building itself and ambient light from around us that the lighting is just not going to be an issue. We're not going to be broadcasting this massive amount of light. It's a really hard thing to render. I actually had to turn the lighting up to even make this visible in the computer program. So the lighting level is above what it actually would be. I'm going to close this one and just go to another one. I can always reopen them. So this is kind of a dusk view of what we see. And these are very low lamp, 15-watt LEDs that just wash the pilasters. There's like no residual light that will come off of that and go anywhere else. It's just simply to light the surface of the building. We're more than open to any kind of lamp that you might suggest, but these are actually on Central Hall, and they do a very good job of just basically lighting the facade, but giving off no light around it. So that's a dusky kind of setting there. And again, I had to jack up the lighting just to get these things to even show from what the LEDs had presented in real lumens. And here's another picture here of the same thing.
So Mark, I understand about the LEDs on the kind of the pilings or the moldings on the edges, but what about, and I see your picture doesn't really show it, are those shades, especially on that third floor? You know, is that all going to be, if it's lit, you know, at people are outside, they're exercising, whatnot?
Up in the third floor?
Yeah.
Whoops. No, there'd be no need up there at night. There'd be no activity really going up on. There'd be level in pool level lighting within that area. But I don't because this is not enclosed. I don't know that there'd be operations going on at that time. I wanted to also show you. I've got a revised plan of that third floor. That might be a little more clear. You can see that that this is all open. I'll move this over here. So in this area here, it's wide open on the third floor, and then these are all pergola beams over this area here, open to the sky. I think there was some confusion before whether that was a hard roof. The only hard roof on this third floor area is of course the stair and the elevator. But when you get out into the rest of this, it's pretty much wide open, as you can see. And I have also, again, remember, these are done on the computer as best we can. This is how open it's going to be. You've got the pool area, you've got a couple of, some cabana lounge chairs, and there's the exercise equipment, and there's no walls. It's Whistling Dixie up here. There's no enclosed space, pergola over the entire area. And here is the other view here. And I apologize, I just didn't have time to throw the pergola beams over this area here, but there would be. This stuff is kind of hard to do to get it all right. But it's wide open. You can see that it's pretty much wide open up there.
Thanks. I have to tell you, this looks a lot different than I had envisioned during the last meeting, so thank you.
Okay, and again, it's going to be very much softer. These look like they're just square boxes, but there'd be lots of millwork detail and paneling. My work. But the computer, God bless them, they can create these views very easily, but also God curse them because they're really hard to get what we need done. If I could, I have to apologize. I'm up on the agenda at another town meeting right now. If I can step out, I trust that Sergio can answer my questions, and I will come right back if I can do this quickly. Okay. This is craziness.
Sounds good. So Sergio, I'm going to ask you a question when Mark's stepped out for a moment, but here's my concern about the third floor. And it's kind of like, is it going to be a party central, right? So, Mark's point is it's not enclosed, shouldn't be a lot of lighting up there. And he certainly has, helped to detail out what it's going to look like. But, 8 o'clock at night, it's a beautiful summer night. you know, people want to go up on top, they want to party, have some guests over, et cetera, et cetera. What's the situation? Are you sit at a certain time? How's that going to work?
Excuse me, this is Keith. Mark, we're still seeing your screen.
Oh,
Thank you, Keith.
I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this.
Mark, at the top, there should be a drop-down menu. You should be able to stop sharing.
Sorry about that. There we go. Thanks.
There we go.
And before I leave, Lynn, all those people partying, they're just entourage that I threw in there to show scale.
Hi, Lynn, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
good.
great. So I think your question was, you know, what it precludes from people being up there partying all night long. What I can tell you is that it's not open to the public. That rooftop is an amenity that's only for hotel guests only, which is limited to the 5 rooms and the 1 resident manager. There really won't be a limit onto, you know, when it will be open and closed, but we don't anticipate that people will be up there late in the evenings and causing a lot of you know, issues with noise and that kind of thing. That we still have to abide by the noise ordinances just like any other property, residential or otherwise, and that I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to identify that you know, most likely that, you know, things are going to settle down around a reasonable hour, 10:30 or so, on that rooftop.
Sergio, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the nearest residence is probably a few hundred feet away too, isn't it?
Yeah, I have the
I'm
the GIS up. I could. I don't know if exactly. Yes, I would think that. I believe you're correct. Just doing a quick measure down Washington Street.
Washington or Apple Health?
It's about 275 feet to the west, to the closest residential property, and I believe across the way, probably about the same. Assuming there's residences over on Washington, you know, a little over 200 feet away.
Yeah, so you know, Fred, this is Lynn. There are apartments in the buildings that you know how there's not a building directly across on Broadway because they knocked that down.
Yes.
But then you kind of cross the street going down Broadway. There's small shops in the first floor. Those are all residents. Yep.
Okay, so not quite that far then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
This is Ben. Thank you. I meant to thank Mark Camo for showing us the west elevation, and it's a big improvement to have that west elevation in the viewpoint. But can you review why you find it necessary to put the building in the setback zone? Just for clarity, one more time, please, Sergio.
And which setback are you referring to?
I thought there was the northwest corner was in the setback.
The northwest would be the. Are we referring to the additional 10 feet required for a third floor, or are you
Yes.
talking about the canopy?
No, the first one. Or by removing all that infrastructure on the third floor, are you working around that setback?
By having no enclosed space on the rooftop deck, it's been, I believe, identified, and the planner has concurred, but Keith can speak for himself, that we meet the criteria that there's no that it's not considered a floor, which would put it a floor over 2. So that provision in the regulations is only for floors over 2. So we feel that if we, since we've accommodated that we have no enclosed space on the
Okay.
rooftop deck, that we don't have to add that additional. So if you look at it from the other perspective, your setback is 5 feet. When your building goes up by that third floor, then you have to put in the additional 10, which we don't feel is warranted. If we did have to put that additional 10, and right now I believe it's around 8.7. So we'd have to move it another 7 feet and change towards the street on Broadway. When we presented to the EDC, they said that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to put it close to the street, but I think there's enough evidence of other buildings in this vicinity where the buildings aren't up on the street. So it's a matter of, about 7 feet further back, which we think just with the massing along the street makes the building that much more attractive to be a little bit further off.
Thank you.
Sergio, can you put up a picture of the building again, maybe the east elevation for me? I have 2 questions.
Yeah, let me just pull up Mark's, and then I will share it. Just taking a minute to load here.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe you said you wanted to see the east elevation.
Any elevation be fine, but east is fine.
I believe I have the east up now.
Okay. The question I have is the space between the second floor and the roof deck. There does not seem to be any allowance there for the depth of the pool, which I thought was about 4 feet. So that's going to leave you with a stretch around the building of solid appearing, a solid facade to accommodate the depth of the pool and the structure that's going to require to hold the weight up there, isn't it not?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit. Mark's rendering was a little bit deceiving, as the actual pool will be elevated above the deck. So you're correct.
Oh.
In the center of that, let me see if I can go to the. So you will see this structure here above the rooftop floor, deck floor.
Oh, so it's gonna look like a backyard pool kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like it's
not an
more of
in-ground
an above ground pool. if you
Above
will.
ground pool, yeah, exactly. Okay.
But
Okay.
I think it lends itself to, instead of being able to jump in the pool, it's more of like a sitting area where you can sit on the edge of the pool and then turn around and go into the pool.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't understand that at all, and it kept troubling me that there was no space for that pool to be up there. And so that then does not affect the overall height of the building.
No, and we are actually, with respect to height, we are still considering these pergola structures as the top of the building, and we still meet our height requirement.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Is there any other questions at this time? Anyone would like to speak in favor of this application?
So this is Keith. If you're out there, please don't forget to unmute yourself. And if you are calling from a regular telephone, what you need to do is press *3, which raises your hand and informs me that you want to speak, in which case I can unmute you, and then you will press *6 in order to speak.
And hearing none, anyone like to speak in opposition to this application?
This is Keith. I was asked to read some comments under opposition, and these were submitted before the last meeting to the commission. Get these here. This is from Jesse Diggs at 8 School Street. He says, I've reviewed the subject application. I am against granting a special use permit for the redevelopment or change of use from automotive service and gas station to a small hotel. While I'm not necessarily opposed to the concept of more restaurant or hotel accommodations in Mystic, the path should not be via the often used special use permit approach, which suggests that a hardship for the property. But more importantly, the proposed design is clearly not in keeping with the style and scale of the surrounding historical area. It's an historical nature of Mystic that attracts visitors, not contemporary buildings that can overshadow the inherent history. I believe that the scale, lot coverage, height, use of a garden fence, rooftop pool, and overall contemporary design of the proposed hotel complex is inconsistent with most every aspect of the preamble and contents of the PZC regulations, beginning with section 1.0, purpose and authority, which states for the protection of historic factors and the character of the districts. There's nothing about the proposed design that indicates it belongs in historic Mystic. In the absence of a town historical review board, it becomes the responsibility of the PZC Commission to take on that role and reject the application on the grounds cited above.
Are there any other ones, Keith?
Not that we're asked to be read. I mean, we did receive comments before the last meeting from Paul and Claire Sarter, which Mr. Tamsky read last time, and from Rick Newton that were forwarded to the commission. Let me see. Although Mr. Newton's comments were he listed as general comments. But again, if anyone's out there,
Anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Are there any general comments on this application? Is Ben on tonight?
yes.
He does, yes.
What?
I'm here, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't gonna comment, but under general comments, I would make one comment, and that is that, as I've stated before, I wish you would get back to the practice of taking comments from the public after the staff has given their comments. That's all I've got. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Keith?
Well, we just received, right before the meeting, comments from DEP on the CAM application, which you haven't seen, and I just forwarded to the applicant beforehand. I only have them in tiny writing on this tiny phone, so I will try to read them here.
Excuse me a minute, Keith. Can I ask
Sure.
a question before you get started?
Mm-hmm.
It was part of your staff report that identified that the DEP has 35 days to comment on an application per state statute. So are these comments even relevant at this stage?
Well, I mean, they're beyond the time frame that they have. I don't want to not share them with the commission, but keep in mind that They are.
I thought because of COVID that everything was extended.
Things are for land use applications. I'm not sure it applies to them.
Keith, I read through them. I don't think we necessarily have any issue with them. I think we've already accommodated a lot of them anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say they're get out of addressing their comments. I just wanted a clarification. That's all. Thank you.
Right. And they're not serious stuff here. Basically, they say to get to the meat of it, they strongly recommend overall impervious coverage be reduced and low impact development options to manage stormwater be incorporated for the site. Options include pervious pavers, rain gardens, rain barrels, parking lot islands, and vegetated swales above ground, and that the applicant demonstrates that impervious surfaces have been reduced as much as possible given site conditions. Moreover, we recommend that the suitability and infiltration capacity of the soils on site be evaluated in order to demonstrate the proposed infiltration basin's capability and efficacy to manage stormwater at the site, particularly for the basin that will manage stormwater from the larger parking lot area. Additionally, we recommend that a condition of approval for this project be incorporated, requiring that any snow removal be taken off-site and not placed on or in the proposed infiltration basins. As the site is primarily located within the FEMA AE zone, elevation 11, as stated by the engineering report, we recommend verifying all FEMA National Flood Insurance Program requirements are met as to prevent and manage coastal hazard areas so as to ensure that development proceeds in such a manner that hazards to life and property are minimized. Finally, for the covered parking area, if a drain is being considered, then the effluent would have to meet the standards for treatment prior to the discharge to the municipal sewer system and noted in the plans. This information is unclear from the submitted plans. Yeah, and that's it. So as far as, we touched about this at the last meeting, but the decisions for the commission are the special use permit waivers requested, the coastal area management application, and the special use permit application. As the last time, the only zoning issue was the that setback that Mr. Philbrook mentioned. There's that section in the zoning regulations that says for hotels and only hotels of over 2 floors, there's an additional setback requirement. So that's what caused them to come back before the commission and remove all the actual roof on the top roof level, with the exception of the stairs and elevator, in order to not make that top level a floor. So they've removed all the gross floor area from that level because stairs and elevators don't count as gross floor area. Our regulations basically just describe a floor as the bottom of an enclosed space. As you can see, the exterior walls are still up for some of it. There's still the window facing road, but there's a pergola roof over it. And as we saw in Mo's interior renderings there's no exterior wall. It all just leads to an open roof there. The recommended stipulations, if you were to approve this, are slightly changed from last time. If you want all these, but I'll just say what the new ones are here. This is on page 23 of the staff report. Number 9 is new, that the proposed screening wall shall be lowered to not block the windows of the adjacent building. Although that's something you heard that the applicant doesn't feel will be helpful. And number 10, that the applicant shall provide a flood evacuation plan to the Department of Planning prior to issuance of a zoning permit, which shall be recorded in the town's land evidence records. We may also want a number 11 based on DEP's comments that snow removal shall be taken off site and not placed in the stormwater basins. maybe we want to add the word significant snow removal or something like that, because, you know, you're not going to bet for 1 inch of snow. And as far as stormwater and some of those points that DEP brought up, we do have the stipulation there that final plans will be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer. And one of the things that he requested is that the soil testing be done before the stormwater basins are put in.
Keith, this is Lynn. I did have a question about the applicant asking not to have soil testing done. And I don't know if this is outside of the scope of what the soil testing would be looking at, but given the previous use of the lot, is there any kind of stipulation or testing for contamination? Ground.
Keith, I'd be happy to address that if you'd like.
Sure, and DEP's comments were about soil testing just for infiltration of the stormwater basins, but it's still a good question.
Keith, is it okay if I
Yeah, go right ahead, sir.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. So there's two different types of soil testing we're talking about here. One of which is environmentally, and one has to do with stormwater. We have no problem with respect to stormwater, honoring the town engineer's comment. We've done it on actually a recent project for my client. We just go out, we verify the soil capacity can handle infiltration. And if it does, then so be it, the soils can remain. If they don't, then we have to over excavate and make sure that we dig down to an original soil strata of natural occurring soil and replace all of the fill with appropriate well draining gravel soils. The second part, which I believe Lynn you were referring to, was the environmental. We have had a phase 1 environmental study done and a phase 2, which had resulted in the removal of the tank, and there was fuel storage tanks underground, being an old service and gas station. So all the appropriate precautions and protocols are being adhered to with respect to the environmental remediation of the site.
Thank you.
I have one last question, Sergio or Elena. So what is the final height of the green wall going to be? I'm sorry to pound this into the ground, but I've heard, I think, two different things now. Is it the height of the Mystic Junction building or the cornice below that ultimate height of the Mystic Junction building?
It's shown on the elevations. My understanding is it's the height of the Mystic, that building. It's to meet the top of that building.
That's correct. It's going to be at the height of the building, and it's something we respectfully request that the condition number 9 be removed from the stipulations.
And just to refresh my memory, how many feet between the wall and the building that we're talking about?
I'm not sure. Clarify the question. You're asking how many feet between what wall and the building? Oh, you mean between the abutting building? I'm sorry, I got a little confused there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't clear.
Okay, it's shown on the plan. We sought to keep with the 5 foot setback, 5 foot off the property line.
So it's 5 foot off. It's within the setback requirements.
Yes.
And
Correct.
is it okay? Thank you.
It meets the rear setback, or I believe that's considered a side yards setback requirement, and which is the 5 feet. Same for the structure. And then the building itself, I believe the adjacent property building, if my memory serves me correctly, is somewhere but in the neighborhood of another 4 to 5 feet off of the off their property line.
Thank you.
Is Chuck on? Did Chuck join us by any chance?
Here.
Chuck and Ryan, we're going to close the public hearing. Do you have any questions at this time?
No, Mr. Chairman, the revised plans that were submitted by Sharenzia addressed all of my issues, and I thank Sergio for the quick turnaround time and the complete job that he did in addressing my questions. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Yeah, and this is
Ryan?
Ryan, this is Ryan, and I also agree. The revised plans, answered the questions that I had adequately, and thank you for submitting those. So I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just one additional thing for the record. The WPCA Commission met tonight. That's where I was between 7 and 7:50, and I joined the meeting at 7:50.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion at this time? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Do I hear a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion to approve the application with the stipulations that were covered in last meeting and this, with the exception of stipulation number 9.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So this is just for the SUP, not the waivers, not the CAM. Correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this is Lynn. I'll open up discussion. So, I think that the team did a great job in answering some of our questions. I, first don't see any need for any kind of a window in the green wall if there's going to be a wall. I actually think it might look a little odd. And I think we might be thinking that it would just be like a hole, but I do think you're going to see the brackets and whatnot. And I'm not just sure that would work. However, I do agree with the comment, the written letter that was sent in that Keith read regarding just the general design. It's not about, in my opinion, what the use of the property is. To me, this is kind of moving into your historic mystic area, and I just think the whole design concept, yes, there's some details in the design, on the corners and whatnot, but it's just not fitting with the overall neighborhood. And yes, you can say, well, you've got, a brick train station design, which is, in my opinion, is historic. You've got Victorian type buildings, kitty corner, etc. But this to me is kind of really far-reaching as to fitting in with the neighborhood. So again, it's not a use; it's more the design of the building itself.
Lynn, I don't see a lot of style difference between this building, for instance, and Bravo, which is right downtown. you know, it's not historic, but then there isn't much in that neck of the woods.
I think that two things is we really don't have much say on design, even though we should, but it's not in our regulation. And some of these CAD programs don't do a good enough job to show what it really does look like. But we don't. Am I right, Keith, on that? We don't have much say in design.
Not as far as like a real hard and fast, design standards. The process that we've set up is that applications go to the Architectural Design Review Board, which itself is an advisory board, offers comments to this board. And that board did review this application for 3 meetings, which is probably the most of any in about 10 years. And did lead to some changes in the design of the building and the landscaping. And that was, pointed out that it's not really their role to sort of enforce traditional architecture. That's more their job to sort of enhance a building's design, whatever style it is. So that's how they approach this also. If the town does want more say in having architecture that's more historic nature or based upon historic district, there's the option of adopting a village district through zoning, which gives more teeth to this sort of thing. Has applications reviewed by a consultant who's an expert. And gives the commission more say in architecture, but we don't have that. For the record, it was in a recommendation in the draft POCD in 2015, but a lot of members from the business community and the Board of Selectmen at the time were pretty opposed to the idea, and it was taken out of the POCD. But, that is the way to get this sort of thing into zoning with more
So thanks for that, Keith. So a couple things. This is what we consider the village. Downtown Mystic. This is how we refer to it all the time. We want that village atmosphere. We want it to be mixed use. We want it to be like a village where people are walking around, etc. So yeah, technically, it's not in the zoning. What is in the zoning is that it fits in with the neighborhood. And, Fred, I think the Bravo building is too big for the neighborhood. I actually think that's a mistake. And not that I don't like the design of the building, I just think it's too big. It's just too big. So I don't know, that's just my opinion, and I think that there were other people who had that opinion in the neighborhood and have come forward. So I think we should consider it.
Thank you, Lynn. Any other discussion on the motion? But do I understand the motion that the green wall is just going to stay the green wall without any light holes in it for windows? Am I correct on that?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better than having holes in it. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
So aye.
Gardner, aye?
I'm aye, yes.
Yeah. Motion carried 4-1.
We have to have the CAM application,
Yeah.
and I believe the waivers for the special use permit also.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Well, motion to approve the waivers.
Do I
Second.
hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We have one more.
Make a motion to approve the CAM.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion approved.
Thank you.
To the members of the commission, it looks like we will not have a meeting the first Tuesday of December. We have nothing on the agenda. And we have not had any new applications come in this month. So the next meeting will be on the 15th, which we will have a hearing on the Masons Island Property Owners Association. And that is it.
David?
Yes.
David, this is Fred. I'm going to have to recuse myself from that hearing
Right.
because the Masons Island principals are both friends and neighbors. So you're going to need an alternate for that hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Any other business?
Are we opening that hearing as Keith says in his report?
What?
Are we? It says public hearing to be opened and immediately
We
closed.
can
Continued.
open it tonight? Okay.
I don't know. Do we need to, Keith?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, we will,
Let's do that.
we should do that.
Okay. I'm going to skip the opening paragraph if that's all right with everybody.
Yeah.
It's
And
good.
All right. So on PZ 2009 SUP and CAM, Masons Island Company and Masons Island Property Owners Association, P. Biscotti, special use permit and coastal area management site plan review applications to accompany future zoning permit application for construction of a single-family residence with on-site septic system, driveway, retaining walls, and related site improvements. Property located at Great Marsh Road, Mystic, Assessor's Map 180, Block 2, Lot 36F, and Great Marsh Road, private right-of-way, zones RA-20 and RC-120.
Do I hear a motion to continue this hearing?
So
So
moved.
moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continued until December 15th. I think that's it. Anything else, Keith?
No, that's it.
That's it.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Happy
Meeting adjourned.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
You too.
Thanksgiving. Happy
Same to
Thanksgiving.
you.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Take care.